Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. As many of our listeners know, I'm on a bit of a mission to get this podcast around Australia. And it's been a little while since we've chatted with someone from our nation's capital. So I actually visited this gym about 6 or 7 years ago and had a roll with this guest, which was probably one of my most fun rolls that I think I've ever had. They also have probably one of the most fun club names of any gym in Australia. So we have today on the podcast none other than the owner and head coach of Dark Carnival in Canberra, Mr. Mitch Langman. Thanks for joining us, Mitch.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Langman.
Oh,
Thanks for coming
man,
on.
whatever.
Just don't call me late for dinner or something. Isn't that what people say? Mate, welcome to the podcast. It's awesome to have you on. We were just having a quick chat. Give us a rundown on your history of martial arts, mate, because you've been doing this for a long, long time, and your face wouldn't tell us that. So you've done very well for yourself, sir.
Yeah, no, the scars are pretty well hidden, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so no, I started training Muay Thai when I was 13. I'm currently 43, so I've ticked over 30 years of Muay Thai. And I mean, obviously, there's little gaps in between where, like we were just saying, I worked on a gold mine for 6 months when I was 18, so there was sparse training there. I dabbled with rugby as well, so that kind of rather than training 5 days a week, I was once or twice, that kind of thing. But there's fairly been consistently ongoing training since the age of 13. And so I've had a total of 15 fights, including one actual like pro MMA show, and 14. It's either 14 or 15 years Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So first degree black belt under Chris Howder, combat base, and due for my second degree next year, actually in December.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then on top of that, self-preservation work with Jerry Wetzel in the Red Zone Threat Management Program. So I've been involved with that since, what are we coming up now? 15 years of that as well.
And tell us, Mitch, a bit more about how you discovered Jiu-Jitsu.
So I was exposed to Jiu-Jitsu around 2000 and I want to say about 2006, thereabouts. And I hated it because it was so young, and everything was just like crank on armbar and crank on neck crank, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this, right? Like I've got fights, I've got people to train. This makes no sense. And then years later, when I was training over in Perth with a guy named James Wilford Jones, and he coaxed me onto the mats. He was like, no, you got to come and try. It's evolved a lot. And so that's rewinding now back to so 2000 and would it be 2011, 2012? So in that 4 or 5 year time period, it had refined itself already, and then from there it refined again and again and again and again and again to kind of where we're finding ourselves today, which is almost a jiu-jitsu that is kind of consumable by everyone. So whether you are that 18-year-old comp athlete, want to be the ADCC competitor, or you've got this 60, 70-year-old guy going, I wouldn't mind giving this a go. I was like, yeah, man, jump on the mats. We've now scaled this, and everyone can jump on the mats and give it a go.
What sorts of things, as a Muay Thai fighter and obviously coach, what sort of similarities and what sort of differences did you see between the learning of Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, Mitch? Because for me, and if I can add another question onto that, what makes a good Muay Thai fighter? I look at Jiu-Jitsu, I'm like, the person who's going to win is probably the person who can execute more techniques than the other person. You know what I mean? So what's the difference between the elite Muay Thai and then bringing that into your Jiu-Jitsu learning?
Now, that just absolutely garbled on my end, so I think I caught most of the question. So my apologies. So there are many crossovers and many similarities between Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Obviously, the biggest difference is that for Jiu-Jitsu is way more easy for people to cross over into, because when was the last time you punched someone in the face? Whereas when was the last time you gave someone a hug? So for jiu-jitsu, there is that definitive difference there, where we can make sure that. Hang on 1 second. I'm just seeing what's going on with my internet.
We shouldn't have joked about the Canberra internet, hey? Look,
see, you jinxed it. There we go. I think that's okay. I think I've jumped onto the 5G, so that should be better.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so as I was saying, for most people, when they decide between Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu is far easier to get into because they're used to hugging someone, whereas walk up and punching someone in the face, very different. So there's that boundary initially for what makes a good Muay Thai fighter is they have to be cool, calm, collected under pressure. They have to be willing to stand and exchange. And initially, there is that definitive point where you go, right, I'm going to bow, touch gloves. I'm going to punch you in the face and respectfully. And you are respectfully going to do the same thing to me. It's not personal. There's nothing about this. Whereas to grab someone and pin them down the ground and put them in a submission, that kind of deal, it's far more detached and methodical and technical as opposed to, what can be perceived as personal. Unless, you're smearing someone's face or, you're doing that dodgy Ezekiel where you're kind of like punching the jaw and that kind of deal, then it can kind of be taken a bit personal. But for Muay Thai in particular, you're standing and exchanging shots. So to be a good fighter, as I said, you have to be cool, calm, collected. You have to have that aggression and that intent in your shots, because the shots can't just be technical. They have to be like, you can't just go and like plant your foot on someone's head. There has to be that actual impact that makes them rock, and it has to be seen to be thrown with intent. Whereas jiu-jitsu, like, it's the beautiful thing about black belts is they can be sitting there laughing, having a conversation while they're murdering someone, but you don't get that alternative in Thai when you're actually fighting. When you're sparring, hells yeah, you got these little, 14, 15-year-old Thai kids who have had 100 fights already, and they can be talking in Thai, sweeping people on their ass and all this kind of deal. But when it comes fight time, there's that level of, okay, cool, this is meant to hurt you effectively. And it's nothing malicious about it. It's purely just, no, this is meant to hit you, cave in your ribs. It's meant to hit you, do damage to your thigh, or it's meant to put fear into you, which is very different from jiu-jitsu where you go, oh, cool, I have to obviously respect that they might be bigger, stronger, but, the open divisions, the absolute divisions, the biggest guy doesn't always win. Whereas for Muay Thai, you can always guarantee if you've got a 100 kilo, 10 fights, 10 wins, and you've got a 50 kilo, 10 fights, 10 wins, I know who's going to win. Yeah, because there's no replacement for displacement, right? So,
Mitch, I'm interested to explore what you were saying, that you feel like jiu-jitsu is not personal. We've had many guests on who have said they've started their martial arts journey with the striking arts, but then transitioned into jiu-jitsu. But some, especially females, for example, can be quite intimidated by the close nature of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, absolutely.
It really is, you're up close and personal far more in someone's personal space doing jiu-jitsu than what you are with Muay Thai, which I get what you're saying. Being punched in the face is not for everyone. But yeah, how do you see that?
So there's two things in particular for that. So one is technically you can do Muay Thai without sparring, without fighting. You can just do pads, you can learn tech, you can do a little bit of clinch work, that kind of thing, and you say, I do Muay Thai. But if you're not sparring, then you're not really getting that aspect. Whereas there is no way you could do jiu-jitsu without rolling. Like, there is no way. So for a certain number of people there and certain element of people, yeah, you can get away with Muay Thai just by, get a good sweat, build up some good cardio conditioning, and you can replicate it. But without sparring, there's no test, so to speak. Whereas jiu-jitsu, straight off the bat, what are you going to do? Shadow spar as like you're rolling? It doesn't work. So you need to have that body. And so, yes, for females, anyone who has undergone, males or females who have undergone any kind of historical, unfortunately, domestic violence, sexual assault, that kind of deal, there has to be treated very carefully about this. And there has to be that empowerment of BJJ, which is the tap, which is the we respectfully engage in this. And yeah, you're up in everyone's business. Like, there's no two ways about it. So, if you're trying to teach a male and a female and you go, cool, get in their guard, which is effectively missionary. that's one thing. But to get two guys get between his legs, goes like, no, I'm not gay. Like, what the hell? It's like, has nothing to do with that dude. And when someone's trying to actually choke you or bend your limb where it doesn't belong, that quickly goes out the window, and you forget. Hands go everywhere, but you're not thinking, oh wow, this is hot. You're going like fighting for your life, trying to survive. So I understand entirely where people might not go to the nth degree of striking, but they will go to the nth degree in grappling, because there is that safety mechanism built in of tapping. So there's so much more, as I said, safety mechanism built in. So I think it attracts a lot more people. It's a lot more open to people to attempt.
When you were talking about the sparring side of Muay Thai, the only thing that came to my head was like Thai Bo. Remember the Thai Bo fitness?
Billy Blanks. Billy Blanks, yeah. Absolutely, right?
You're just doing Thai Bro, man, with someone else in front of you.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's the hardest thing as well for Muay Thai, because, with Jiu-Jitsu, there is a real, like, if you're using strength in Jiu-Jitsu, and there's a big difference between strength and structure. And there are always exceptions to the rule that it's, when you've got a guy that can mash potatoes with his bare hands, you're like, I'm not breaking that grip. Guys that lock down their structure and they're talking to you normally, but you cannot extract their arm. You go, okay, cool. Like, there's got to be a technical answer to this. But when you've got the time and space for sparring in Muay Thai, and like the 3 times I've been knocked out in sparring is from like 50 and 60 kilo individuals, just because they're moving fast and they throw a clean shot. And if your hands aren't up and it hits a light switch, you're like, ooh, hello. Whereas, you're rolling a big person or a small person, they get in a rear naked choke, you're like, yeah, I'm going to tap to this. That's not a problem. But yeah, there's that dynamic chaos of Muay Thai sparring, which you can only build in so many safety mechanisms before you go, okay, this is real trial and error. And especially when you introduce like spinning back fists, for argument's sake, you've got a 70 kilo person spinning. How much control do you really have with that shot? Yeah. That's why most jiu-jitsu, rolling, you don't start with a takedown. You start like seated versus standing or that kind of thing, because the highest rate of injury in jiu-jitsu is takedowns. So you can go, yeah, cool, we can work around that. That's not a problem. Or you work like, okay, you get to position, okay, you call your takedown, whereas you can't do that in sparring and Muay Thai. It's just going to happen, and that's the only way you're going to learn.
And do you have many students that cross over from one to the other, or more of your students sort of one only?
So it's kind of funny, because we have the upstairs being the jiu-jitsu area and the downstairs being the Muay Thai. And there is inherently a rivalry that goes on between the upstairs and downstairs. And upstairs, like in our gym, is all white, and downstairs is all black. So it's like, the dirty Thai guys, and and then Muay Thai guys, yeah, we start standing, and there's always some rivalry going on between them. But we do get some crossover between the guys that go, yeah, like I'll jump in, and I'll go down, and when the jiu-jitsu guys invariably get like the ankle gets injured or something like that, they might go down and strike for a couple months, and they go, oh, it's actually like good fun, good workout. It's very different. It's like, yeah, it is, and that invariably leads them to MMA effectively. So they start playing with the MMA class, which is good.
Was that like a conscious thing, like doing downstairs black, upstairs white? Was that conscious, or was this?
Yeah, it kind of was.
Good.
So initially, like, I've got a bad habit of expanding my gym every 2 to 3 years. And so we went from 175 square meters to 325 square meters to 380 square meters to 630 square meters. And it's just like, oh, so thankfully, like, well, I don't say thankfully, but post the second lockdown, that kind of put a pause on that. And it's like, okay, let's get this fixed internally. But, originally we just had the downstairs area, and we just divide the room with pool noodles. And so the class would be on, and the guys would be rolling, and they'd roll out of the area, and you just see these Thai guys start stomping the ground and get out of here. And the Thai guys would accidentally be sparring, and they'd step back. Next thing someone's clamped onto their leg. And it's all fun and games. And so it was a lot more kind of back and forth when we shared one area. But now that we've got the 2 areas, apart from like social events, gradings, that kind of thing, apart from the students that actually train up and upstairs and downstairs, there's kind of that internal rivalry, which is fun. It's funny, but it's good. It's good.
Somewhere between the light and the dark, right?
Exactly. The duality of it, if you will.
And Mitch, tell us a bit about how your gym actually came about. Like, how long's it been around? What got you started to set up your own academy?
Yeah, so I started, as I said, started training when I was much younger, and then when I reached about, I did the typical thing that everyone else did, which is you run your instructor's gym. You kind of come of age and you end up of a rank, and you just kind of it's the kind of the okay, you just start running and you start doing stuff. And for me personally, there was so many ways and methodologies and philosophies that I would rather pursue than go down this route. And so there was a certain cut point, and then I went, okay, I'm going to do this. And rewind to 2010, I really started to put this into play. And I was working AFP at the time as an unsworn member. And I was like, okay, no, I'm really going to do this, really going to do this. So it kind of got to the point where I started coaching out of Stockade Training Centre under the brand of Dark Carnival here in Canberra. And they were the ones that gave me the opportunity, says Gary Hamilton and Andrew Sykes, which gave me the opportunity to really get my feet wet with coaching full time. So I took my long service leave, took everything as long as I could, and milked it out for a year. And I went, okay, it's time to pull the trigger on this. Let's get a lease. Let's go. And so June 3rd, 2013 was when I officially opened up Dark Carnival, and I've never looked back since.
Do you find during those formative years for you, so as a kid, and then obviously, becoming an adult, and then under different people and under different coaches, did you find for you, and then obviously with the AFP stuff, did you find for you that teaching started to become very, very normal and easy for you,
Yeah.
or were you yeah.
So I say this jokingly, but not jokingly, my autistic superpower is that I can conceptualize and break apart things. So one of my jobs in the AFP was I was an armorer. And so I was an armorer for 3.5 years. And apart from like seeing guns in games, I'd never touched a firearm, but I was that kid that would get something and pull it apart and put it back together. So to now be able to work with firearms and just pull them apart and put them back together, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is how mechanically should work. So I can watch Muay Thai, I can watch Jiu Jitsu, and I can go, oh, I understand how that works. Now I just need to make it work for myself. And then I can conceptualize it 20 different ways to be able to coach it to an individual, depending on if this person understands that, if that person understands that, however it works.
Yeah, that's a superpower for sure.
Yeah, it is. I find it.
As a kid, but never be able to put it back together the same way.
Make it work. It's fine.
And Mitch, tell us a bit about the scene in Canberra. Like I said, it's been a while since we've had a guest on from Canberra. Is it growing? Have you noticed a change in the last sort of 4 or 5 years? What's going on up there?
Massively. So originally, way back in the day, there was literally one established Muay Thai gym, which is Phoenix, and they're still around to this day. But as always happens within gyms, kind of people get the idea and go, well, I'm going to strike out on my own. And so from that, you now have Gaz Rees, who runs Choppers. You have Kieran Walsh that runs Muay U. You have Lee Fook, who runs Sabai Muay Thai. And all three of these guys have created like world-class athletes, and they run really good, Muay Thai and kickboxing gyms. And they're amazing. From there as well, we have so CDO Shabaduro, Hanato, his jiu-jitsu gym. Ben Langford from Elements, he's been around forever and a day. So kind of if you had Anthony Manning doing the OG kind of kickboxing Muay Thai, you have Ben Langford, who was from memory, one of the first jiu-jitsu gyms in Canberra, and he's still going strong. And you've got Storm out at Hume. There's all these various gyms that have kicked off for jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. And then throughout that, you've got the entire spread of the traditional arts of the karate, Wing Chun, Kempo, Hapkido, all that kind of deal. Yeah. So it's massively exploded in Canberra. And I mean, that's kind of why we chose Phillip, because you've got the typical area market saturation in the commercial estates or the industrial estates, being Hume, Fishwick, and Mitchell. And so we're like, okay, we'll like, you've already got elements in the city, so we're going to go in Phillip, we're going to go in Woden, and so we kind of cater to the inner south. But I mean, Canberra's pretty good. You can get 45 minutes cross town. It's not that bad. And for anyone in Canberra that complains about traffic, go live in Melbourne or Sydney. Like,
Yes.
3 hours in 5 kilometers is like, yeah. So
This is true, mate. Canberra and the ACT area, they're known for two big teams, right? So the Raiders and then the ACT Brumbies and rugby league.
Yep.
Josh Saunders is a guy who's come
I didn't
out.
know where you were going to go with that, Brentos. Those two things. I was thinking
Sports
something
ball.
else, but go.
Yeah, sports ball. Go local team. That's it. Yep.
So Josh Saunders came out of the Canberra sort of Raiders area and team and that sort of thing, and obviously he's done amazing stuff with grapplers. Do you see any of those sort of sportsmen coming through, whether they're young guys and they've got a choice on what way to go, or whether they haven't quite made the grade? Are you seeing any of those sort of athletes coming through?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So we
that's bloody scary.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. So I know Ben Langford has a couple of current and ex like professional rugby players at his gym, and they're just phenomenal. One of the guys, Damo, who runs Shape, I believe he does work with them as well, and he can't remember which team he works with, but yeah, they're all doing work, and but you get young guys in and who are either league or union, and they just gravitate towards no-gi straight away because a young athletic bounce back 18, 19-year-old male can give a black belt trouble in no-gi. That's why I prefer gi. So yeah, but no, they come through and you're just like, oh, this is a handful. This is an absolute handful. Put a gi on.
Yeah, one of our teammates is a guy, Max Viney, who's a black belt under Dave Hart from Dominance, and his brother plays AFL, and Max has spent a lot of time, especially over the last maybe 3 years or something, teaching a lot of the AFL players tackling positions and those sorts of things, Yep. So I always find it quite interesting in those sort of areas that when you get like in a range of sports people and like athletes, how they can transition into the martial arts scene, jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or something, because I think as it gets more and more well known, some of these guys who are athletes when they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and then they're like, okay, well maybe my high school career where I was very, very good has kind of come to an end and I want something else or whatever. And man, these guys coming through are going to give us, a world of trouble. So some of the men, some of the women who are, 18, 19, 20, who are absolute athletes joining the jiu-jitsu scene or the Muay Thai scene, it's like, oof, it's trouble, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We had the pleasure of training a young girl named Ella Ryan, and Ella, I think she played both Raiders and what's the female union team? It's just going over, but again, just for jiu-jitsu, MMA, striking, just picked it up, and it's just insane. And they're phenomenally strong, they're phenomenally athletic, and they just absorb that information and that physicality of it. They just run with it. And yeah, I've had the pleasure of watching one of my guys, Dan, go up against Josh in comp, and you don't realize how large that man is until you're on the mat and you're like, oh wow, you're huge. And then yeah, he makes you look like a child on the mats. You're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. But no, he's a lovely dude. He's cool. Yeah. But yeah, the natural. The other good thing about it is that when it gives, like for me, I find jiu-jitsu in particular, it gives people who have either where they've been professional sports players, so especially when they've played in a rugby team, that kind of deal, when they finish up, it gives them a place to go, a place to be a part of, because they've just been around these 15 to 30 players their entire career, and then all of a sudden they're going like, what do I do? And especially for like returned servicemen, ex-servicemen, that kind of deal, I find it's amazing to get that kind of brotherhood, and it's still combatives. It's still working within that realm, so it ticks all the boxes of that kind of high stress situation, forming that that brotherhood under fire with your male and female cohort, and it's wicked. It's really cool.
Mitch, tell us a bit about the Paragon Project that you were chatting with us a bit about before we pressed record.
Yeah, so we're trying to start a Dark Carnival initiative for frontline and first responder personnel, just to try and get them involved in and ongoing training. So at Dark Carnival, we offer the first 2 months of training complimentary, and that is for first line responders, so active military, police, fireys, and paramedics. And then we also offer ongoing discounts after that. And that is across the board for any frontline health. So there's your ER worker, if you work corrections, all this kind of deal, reservists, whatever. We have ongoing memberships for that as well. But it is really just trying to get that, the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of combatant violence so that we can kind of minimize that. I'd rather them have the experience on the mats than in real life when they are, and I had to say horrendously underprepared for what it can feel like to be pinned and feel like there's no escape. Because there's nothing worse than, kind of the hurry up and wait mentality of a lot of organizations to train, and they pump them out 16 to 20 weeks at the college and then you're on the road. And this is where PTSD, burnout occurs, mental and emotional trauma, and to try to get them to the point where they are calm under pressure to begin with, and they know what a human is capable of and what they are capable of and what people can bounce back from. Everything is just critically important for the ongoing development and welfare of first responders. And, these people put their hand up to go do this. And like, I was on sworn for 11 years and I know my limitations, that if I went front line, I would have use of force complaints against me left, right, and center, just because things. And so I just, okay, no, I'm going to support these people as best as I can. So as I said, we have an intake period, and the next intake period is about to start, and we offer 20 spots, and that is free training for 2 months effectively in these specific classes, and then heavily reduced rates after that. And we also have organizations and members who will support members and pay their memberships just to say thank you, as far as, thank you for being a good police officer. Thank you for putting your hand up and being a paragon of society.
How do you find the uptake in that, and then how do you find the retention after it?
So it's really hard because shift work, and it is such demanding work that we've tried to do different models of it here, there, and everywhere, and we tried to run specific sessions throughout the day to work for shift workers. But the uptake on them has been incredibly small because they're tired and they're burnt out. And there's kind of that, and I understand entirely that little bit of resentment of, well, why am I not being paid to do this? Why do I do this on my own time? And so, no, man, I get that, but this is the reality of it. So we're trying to do this and support you, get amongst it, get involved. And, but life, family, work, the stresses of work, having to decompress from work, any injuries from work, it takes its toll, and we understand that. So we're trying to make this as available as possible.
Do you feel that they see it too much as hey, this is something you need, as opposed to, hey, this could be a really good hobby for you that might dovetail into your real work? Do you know what I mean? Like, if they're kind of sitting there and saying, look, the agency should be paying for this, as opposed to perhaps considering, well, this is good for me because I like the mental aspect and the physical aspect.
Yeah, so we generally come into kind of 3 hurdles. One is they're human, and everyone, the hardest thing is to get someone on the mats. Once they're on the mats, they love it, but to have them walk through the door and actually try it, that's the first part. The second is the true use of the word, the humbling process of that people actually go, wow, I'm horrendously underprepared. And it goes, yeah, man, you are. So let's now prepare you for this, and let's see what you're actually made of. And the third one is that little bit of resentment, saying, well, hang on a second, why do I have to do this? And it's like, man, everyone should do this. It isn't just you in particular, but you in particular should do this because your life might depend on it, and my daughter's safety might depend on it. So could you please, be well trained and, in this position where if something happens and you're responding, I want to know, cool, you've got the calm, collected, response, especially when, you've got a vest full of hammers. I don't want everything looking like a nail. There's no good outcomes of that. Let's figure out how to do this, and let's stress inoculate and build up these protocols. Let's go. Yeah.
It sounds like a really great initiative. Was there one specific event or occurrence that led you to setting this up, or was it just sort of over time?
So I was one of those kids that, growing up, there's a police officer, like, thank you, like, respect the police officers. There's a fiery, thank you, like, there's a paramedic, thank you. And then working unsworn AFP in the areas that I did, I had a really good, exposure to kind of how police officers are perceived. And then, when I started coaching, and I'd have the occasional police officer come in, and now I have heaps of police officers coming in. Heaps, like, I've got a good collection of fireys, good collection of nurses, all this kind of deal. And just hearing what these people go through on a day to day, and I'm like, man, like, I appreciate you guys like nothing else. And there needs to be more done to help you guys. Like you understand because you're here, but for you to try and recruit other people to come in here and, like, see how good this is, to have that outlet, to have that physical outlet, to have similar minded people that they can actually decompress with. And again, to have that hobby that they can do outside that is for them, not just directly towards their work, but you can meet cool people because you don't have that many shitheads on the mats. And the ones that you do generally get filtered out very quickly because, again, the humbling process. Most like wannabe street thugs cannot handle being pinned down by a 50-kilo, female. They just can't.
Yeah,
So it doesn't last long.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you're saying, mate. The stress inoculation, I think that's, like, it's crazy
Huge.
important. I think it's very, very important. I also think giving people the props for the work that they do, and not even down to the violence part, but just learning to stay cool under pressure. I think that's one of the hardest things, like, if anybody's ever watched police on YouTube where somebody's just been so antagonistic, and as you said, Mitch, like, I would have been in trouble if I was a SWAT police officer because you wouldn't be talking out of their mouth for 4 weeks or whatever, like, I think the self-control that sort of takes, and I think that's one of the things that martial arts, and for me doing jiu-jitsu, just learning to be calm and relaxing under pressure. It takes time, and I think that's one of the important aspects of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, to not take it personally is one of the hardest things when you're on the mats and you're doing Muay Thai and you have a knee clash, for argument's sake, because someone threw up a dodgy check. And you're like, I'm not going to walk for 3 days, thanks, dude. And you bow touch gloves and they punch you straight away, and like, whatever. Or jiu-jitsu, like, you're a white belt and someone gets you in a knee bar, or, I'm very guilty. I'll put my hand up first for wrist locking everyone. That kind of thing. It's like, it's very, when someone's got you pinned dead to rights, and to just go, okay, cool, I'm surviving. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. This is where I live now. And you just get used to it, right? But, to not have that visceral, emotional, or mental reaction of, which you don't want to happen out on the road. And to have, these potentially really bad situations that these people actively put themselves into, you want them going in as well prepared as they can. And if we can have any partner assisting with that, man, like, hit me up. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Mitch, tell us about the day you got your black belt.
So there was a point where, so Chris, like, I catch up with him probably 2 to 3 times a year, where possible.
This is Chris Howder.
This is Chris Howder, yeah. And either we get him out, or I'll go over to the States, or he'll be in, like, somewhere in, like, Southeast Asia, and I'll go catch up with him there. And one of the black belts under him, Jerry Wetzel, is the creator of the Red Zone Threat Management Program. So I catch up with Jerry, 2 to 3 times a year as well. And, I kind of came into it as a blue belt, but my blue belt wasn't well, like, deserved effectively. And, Ben Langford actually just said to me, cool, like to start this process, are you willing to forget everything you've learned? And I've gone, yep, no worries. You guys, okay, we're not going to have any problems. And so started training locally with Ben and then hooked up with Chris. And then at that point in time, I think this was 2013. That's where Chris went, okay, cool. Like we're going to put a purple belt on you. And I grade people for two reasons. One is because they deserve it. The second is because they need a kick in the ass. I need to paint a target on their back. You're getting your purple belt to paint a target on your back. And I was like, thanks, Chris. So these other guys, they got to wait a year. I had to get mine immediately. I was like, oh. So that kind of forced me into the evolution of going, okay, rather than just playing, let's now attack. Let's now, start working this jiu-jitsu thing. So from there to brown belt was at that point well deserved. I felt, and then like had Chris out, and he just went cool. I'd organised to roll these, grade these other guys, and Chris was like, cool, Mitch, on your back, and Iron Manned me for my brown belt. When it was time to do the black belt, there was coming up into 2019. There was a couple of points going, okay, we're kind of close. 2020, we go into lockdown and we don't know if this is ever going to happen. And then it just kind of went on and on and on and on and on. And then, travel was this, travel was that. And it kind of got to December 2021. And, like there were still restrictions with travel and all this kind of deal. So I got awarded my belt via Zoom effectively. So it wasn't ideal in that fact, but we still had, I think there was three third-degree black belts in attendance, Ben Langford and a couple of others. There were a couple of second degrees, a couple of first degrees, a couple of black belts, and the entire gym. Plus, there was, I think, about 40-odd people, and I got Iron Man for about 45 minutes, 43 minutes, thereabouts, just with, ranking up and being sat on and all that. It was great fun. But so it was really cool when I actually got to see Chris. And it was funny because I took my belt off, gave it to him, said, cool, Chris, can you just give that to me now? And he handed it back to me. What he meant, I said, thank you, Chris, for receiving my black belt. Awesome. Because, that was actually the first time I got to see him as a black belt, and I got to roll him. And he was like, yep, that was well deserved. I was like, okay, cool. Because Chris has a very, it's the way he's always explained to me, a very specific way of, where people are up to in their jiu-jitsu journey. And the black belt is really the beginning. It's not the end. And there was that point of, I get that now. I really get that now.
It's funny because we obviously we talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of black belts that we do talk to say exactly the same thing. And Kim has said exactly the same thing to me multiple times. Like, she's kind of like, I got my black belt and I felt like, not that I started all over, but it's like, now I learn, and I think that's that humbling process a wee bit, Mitch, but it's also the recognition of like, fuck, jiu-jitsu is so massive.
Yes. The way that I always conceptualize it is if you have that like kind of big mountain, and you have a little white belt down the bottom, and he's just looking up the mountain, and ahead of him is a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, and a black belt. And, the white belt there is going, oh man, we've got so far to go. This hill's massive and all that kind of thing. And then like one step away the white, you got the blue belt, and the blue belt's sitting there going, at least I'm not that guy. But man, I've got so far to go. Like these guys are so far ahead of me. And then halfway up the mountain, perceptively, is the purple belt. He's going, these guys, but I'm halfway there. Like I'm so close. Then you got the brown belt going, okay, I'm near the top. But man, these guys have got so far to go. And the black belt is the only one that can actually see how far that mountain has yet to go. But everyone is just looking at that black belt going, I've got to get to that. Where black belt's going, I know nothing. Like we have so far to go, people.
I think I've seen a cartoon like what you're talking about, and then the black belt gets to the top of the mountain, and then they see a whole other mountain range ahead of them, because that's pretty much what you got. I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned about like putting the target on your back when you got your purple, and I mean I know myself, like I definitely feel that. How important do you think that is in jiu-jitsu, and how do you think people deal with it when they are that person, when they've got that target on their back?
Oh, massively. So like if you kind of break it down to like technical aptitude, so can they actually roll? technical knowledge? Do they understand how to roll? And you kind of look at those two kind of aspects and you go, righto, so you've got a person that knows a lot, but they can't roll. Or you've got a person that can really roll, but they don't quite understand what they're doing. That belt that kind of puts that big target on their back can help both of those aspects, because when you're a white belt, everyone views you as the spazzy white belt. And as you get 1 stripe, 2 stripe, 3 stripe, 4 stripe, they start to go, okay, you kind of get an idea of what you're doing, or you kind of know what you're doing. Like you can demonstrate what you're doing. Whereas to then go, okay, cool, here's your blue belt. And everyone does the same thing. I don't deserve this. And it's like, okay, why didn't you deserve this? Well, I'm not a purple belt. It's like, I didn't give you a purple belt. I gave you a blue belt. He goes, yeah, but purple belt's next. He goes, yeah, that's years down the track, mate. Don't worry about that. And you've got people whose technical knowledge is amazing. And as you've got all the memes of the blue belts coaching beginners and all this kind of thing, and because they think they know. It's like, no, my friend. But I'll tell you what, here's a purple belt, because now you've actually got to perform as a purple belt. So let's see if you can put this technical knowledge to the actual test. Or you've got people that roll and goes, cool, here's a purple belt. And they go, but I can roll, but I don't know anything. Now you've got to learn it. So now let's see you actually embody this learning process. Can you take someone and explain to them how this works? And that aspect of, either physically doing it or being able to explain and demonstrate it is critical and important, I think, beyond purple belt.
All right. So we've covered the technical aspect. We've covered the willing to roll aspect. How about we cover the mental health aspect, mate? Like, how about, do you want to talk about that? So the importance of maintaining mental health in life, but also jiu-jitsu, mate. So do you want to touch on that?
So we unfortunately had a really unfortunate incident last year in December where one of our guys, and no one would have picked it. It was a blue belt, strong competitor. It was one of the lads in the gym, and unfortunately took his own life. And that was devastating for everyone. And I would be absolutely lying if I didn't, at that time, it hit my mental health really, really hard. And through training, through the people at training, and like when I was probably at my worst, like, yes, it's one of my friends as well, but it's one of the guys I train with regularly. It was the first person I called, and I'm there. And having that shared experience on the mats of, what could be, perceived exposure therapy and trauma therapy and that kind of thing from just being mauled on the mats effectively, you build these relationships and you build this trust. And it's the trust of welfare and well-being, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. So the mental health aspect of ongoing training, it doesn't matter whether it's at the gym lifting weights. It doesn't matter, if it's Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Hapkido, whatever it is. But to be in this place with like-minded individuals who, like, generally when you cast around the room, you go, put your hand up if you're broken. Everyone puts their hand up. And it's probably the one guy who's, again, just kind of oblivious to it going, oh, sorry, a question was asked. What was the question? That everyone else has seen and been and gone through some shit. And this is why part of the reason why we're all here is because we got shit to work out. And there is nothing better than, again, taking these concepts of breathe. Just breathe it out. Just breathe, relax. Awesome. That's really good. Now do it on the mats. Now do it while a 120 kilo rugby player is crushing you. Just breathe. Don't panic. Realize that you're okay. Realize that you choose to be here. You can also choose not to be here, but you choose to be here. And that choice is all powerful. You can also choose to tap and just go, let's go again. Let's start again. Yep. Cool. Tap. Show me how you did that. Talk me through it. Educate me. And there's this whole process, not only like, again, technically jiu-jitsu, but from the life, like, man, like, some of the guys say, like, how do you remain calm? And it's like, man, through years of doing this and going through shit and being stuck in shit positions, I would love to say that, you don't have to go through any of it, but you do have to go through a modicum of, again, that, like, how do you build muscle? You build muscle by breaking muscle. not by ripping it apart, but by that little bit of stress, that little bit of stress, that little bit of stress. And we build that resilience through that little bit of stress. And, you know, part of my greatest honor coaching people is that, you know, I always say what makes us different is that, yeah, cool, we train good fighters, but we do life and performance coaching. That's what we do. So I'm more interested in the individual than I am about the athlete, than about the outcomes in competition. And so when I get a client that comes to me and goes, you know, we start the session, it's like, okay, cool, we might be on pads or we slap bump, we start rolling, and it's like, hey man, like, you all good? And they go, man, I'm going through shit. And it's like, do you want to talk about it, man? And if not here, then where? And if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And, you know, they go, and they just divulge. And you're like, quick question. How many people do you speak to? And they go, you're the first. And you go, man, like that's an honor. That is an absolute honor that we have this trust. And why do we have this trust? It's like, yeah, because it is demonstrable that there is a power disparity between us. Absolute power disparity. I could, you know, get you on the mat and I could and do all these bad things, but I don't. You trust me. Your welfare is my goal here. So I'm honored that now. How do we work through this? Like, and even just voicing it for a lot of people, that's all they need is just to be heard and to be able to go, okay, cool. Do you now want to train? Yeah, man, I wouldn't mind. Okay, let's go. Let's get the sweat on now. Yeah. And it's like, let's go. And it's what's beautiful about all the coaches we have here is they all do this for relationships. And it's that usual thing of any martial arts coach. You're a pseudo psychologist, pseudo financial advisor, pseudo surgeon, pseudo whatever it is. And this is the role that we play. So for the mental health aspect, it's second to none in my books because you actually get the physical outcome. It's not just, you know, yeah, no, you just need to breathe and relax. It's like, no, I'm going to crush you. And what I want you to do is breathe and relax. I want you to lean into this level of uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. Look, that's the beauty of the martial arts, I think, and the jiu-jitsu, the community that's around it is so strong. And it's part of the reason, I guess, why we do this podcast and why we continue to do it. So please, anyone listening out there who is struggling, do reach out, you know, to your teammates or to someone around, because especially sometimes there's that sort of stiff upper lip or, you know, the strong silent male, and no, that's not a good thing, like you said. So
that's exactly it. And like I always find Alan Watts his take on you know effect on suicide very interesting. Is that, you know, people approach him and go, well, you know, Alan, I don't want to live anymore. And, you know, he says, well, that's your prerogative. You don't have to. And they go, what? He goes, well, that's your prerogative. You don't have to. You have that choice. But you choose to wake up. You choose to be here. And then when people realize, oh, wait, I have a choice. Like, yeah, you do have a choice. Like, you have a choice. But that choice is like, I choose to wake up in the morning. I choose to go to bed at night. I choose to do this. That choice is all powerful because now I choose and I'm choosing. And it's like, hang on a second. Yeah, I can choose to move on. I can choose to grow. I can choose to develop. I can choose to fight. And that's the biggest thing. And it's the biggest taboo and stigma is that people think that no one goes through this. And man, like I was there in December. Like it's not easy. And I chose to speak and I chose, and thankfully, you know, I listened. Now, because that's the second part of it. You have to go, okay, right. I spoke. I was like, cool. Now let's work with this. Because again, I've made that choice. I now choose. I now choose to wake up. I choose to live. Let's go. And as I said, that is all powerful. It's amazing.
Yeah, I guess the actions are the important part. You know, I mean, I learned this sort of seminar quite a long time ago now, but it's like you can change your emotions in a minute.
Yes.
You just have to. You know, if you're sad, you don't need to be sad. You can stay there, but you don't have to. You can literally choose it. You can control your brain and change your emotions.
Absolutely.
And it might not last forever, but you can change it. You have the power to be able to do those sorts of things. You know, and I think that's one of the things for me that jiu-jitsu helps me continue to understand is like a really good friend of mine. I've spoken about this guy a few times on the podcast, a guy called Jay Jack, a friend in America. He's got lots of different sayings, but one of the sayings that I love is fix your breathing, fix your face, fix your position. And if you do those three things, all of a sudden you're on the bottom of side control or bottom of mountain or whatever, and you're getting smashed. If you just slow down and fix your breathing a little bit, that's going to help you. And then if you fix your face and stop making ugly faces and straining, stressy faces, like just go to normal face, it's okay. And then now you've done these things, now fix your position, And I think that to me it's a life lesson from Jay. And I think those sort of lessons that we can bring into life that we learn in martial arts is really important.
Yeah, the lessons on the mat are just applicable in life. The greatest example I have is I will absolutely murder people, especially fighters, on pad work. I will take them to the dark place where because again, like when you're training fighters, there's that process that kind of has to happen, and they will want to quit. They'll be throwing up, and I'll remind them, in 5 minutes' time, when we stop, in 5 minutes' time, you'll be fully recovered. In 5 minutes' time. When they get in the ring and they get the end of the first round, they're like, and it's like 5 minutes. At the end of this fight, if you quit now, in 5 minutes' time, you will regret this. 5 minutes. Just keep going. Because that 5 minutes, it's 120 seconds or 180 seconds, no matter how you paint it. Keep going. You've done the work. Let's do this now. 5 minutes, you'll be fine. That's it. Just 5 minutes. And it's the exact same thing. Like when you're in that really bad position, I say, cool, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Just, okay, cool. I will be fine in 5 minutes. But that 5 minutes, man, have a pity party. Go to town. Have at it. But in 5 minutes, back to it. Let's go.
Fantastic. Look, thank you so much, Mitch, for giving up your time. It's been a really, really entertaining episode, very eye-opening for me and hopefully for our listeners as well. Anybody that's ever around the Canberra area, please do pop into Dark Carnival. It's a really fun gym, fantastic vibe there, and highly recommend. We've got a couple of little pop quiz questions for you here, Mitch, just to finish it off. So make the answers as short or as long as you like.
All right, mate. Here we go. iPhone or Samsung?
Android.
Beautiful.
So
I like it.
Yep.
Mate, we're off to a good start. Strength or flexibility?
Strength.
I saw the arms. Pasta or rice?
Rice.
Steak or chicken?
Steak.
Guard pull or takedown?
Oh. Is submission a answer?
Yeah, off the guard pull or takedown. All right, knockout or submission?
Submission.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yep. I'd say submission. Yep.
Yeah, you've been caught a couple of times by these smaller guys, you reckon? So, like submission, they wouldn't have got you.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Yep.
What's the favorite belt that you've been at?
I have to say black belt. Black belt. Yep. It comes with the most challenges. The imposter syndrome is real. And there's that certain point of going, okay, now I get to play. Because now I get to start afresh and just go, okay, like if anyone plays Call of Duty, it's like when you reach Prestige 1, it's like, yeah, now I get to like actually, I've done the levels. Let's start playing the actual game now. Yeah. And so you get to go, cool, I'm just going to focus on Kimuras. I'm just going to focus on this thing. Oh, what's this octopus guard? I'm going to totally do that. Yeah. And the bullshittery and the magic just comes back into play. It's amazing.
I like it. All right, mate, we've got two more for you. First one, can you drive a manual car?
Absolutely.
Legend, of course. And then the second one, do you wear Crocs?
No, but Dan does.
Mate, you're a legend.
However.
Start, this is going to be a good
the
one.
Berkeys count.
Berkeys are fine, mate. They're not Crocs.
Good. No, but Dan does. Dan, my offsider in jiu-jitsu, he definitely wears Crocs.
That's why we're not talking to him, and that's why we're talking to you. So we knew. Thank you so much again for giving up your time. We'll have this episode out in a couple of weeks. Brentos, do you want to do the wrap-up?
Yeah, sure. Thanks again, Mitch, for coming in, mate. It was really good to get to know you and hear about Dark Carnival and the outlook that you have in the martial arts world, mate. I really appreciate it. To everybody listening and watching, we appreciate you guys doing that. Please remember to like, rate, and share these episodes around, so that way we can get into the dark corners of Canberra and all the other places around Australia and New Zealand. We appreciate it. Other than that, we will see everybody next week for another episode of Roll or Die podcast. Peace out.
See ya.